Welcome to the Jess Larsen Show on innovation and leadership. On this episode, I'm excited to have Giles Adams, partner and president at Third Home. And if you don't know what that is, you're about to find out. We're actually excited to become a client. They are kind of the global leader on helping people with incredible homes trade time at each other's homes. That's my intro. Giles, what's your elevator pitch for Third Home?
Well, Jess, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's seriously kind of you. We are a private club for the owners of luxury second homes. Our thinking is simple. If you own a beautiful second home, you shouldn't have to pay rent to use others when you travel. So it's an idea we came up with about almost 16 years ago now. And we've grown to just over 20,000 properties in 103 countries.
So fun. Can you talk about the different tiers? Like talk about the reserve.
Of course. Well, we first started with the regular side of the club. It was our Third Home exchange. And the average value of a property within Third Home is about $2.5 million US. But ever since we started, we had potential members who'd kind of bought into the idea and ethos of who we are and what we do, but their homes were just at a completely different level. 8, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, even $50 million properties. And these were private islands, game reserves, penthouses in New York, beachfront villas down in the south of France and Ibiza. And they were really excited about who we are and what we do. But when they had a look at all of the other properties, they didn't really see enough at their level. So what we did a few years ago was kind of set up this kind of club within a club that is THIRDHOME Reserve. And it is specifically for the owners of these top luxury assets. We've got some yachts in the program as well, starting to add a few more of those into it. But as I said, yes, it's all about game reserves, private islands, and some of the finest homes you'll find anywhere in the world.
Well, we were fans before you and I ever met because at our company, Connection Estates, where we're doing these luxury home co-ownership, 4 families own a cabin in Aspen or a beachfront place in the Cayman Islands together, maybe up to 8 families, right? This was our approach of, well, what about if I didn't get Christmas this year, but I want a Christmas? And we're like, well, this is where we're signing up for Third Home. And so you can go do, Christmas at one of the other 16,000 homes or yachts around the world and, trade your July 4th weekend and put the credits on, get your keys and get a 90% discount to go stay at Lake Como in Italy or something. And at least that's the way I've been representing it. So correct me there.
Well, I don't need to correct you at all. You're pretty much spot on. In fact, that is the great benefit about the club. And it is a club format as opposed to being a platform or a network for direct and simultaneous exchanges. When we set this up, it was set up by my partner and our CEO, Wade Sheely. We kind of thought that it was quite limiting to have a direct and simultaneous exchange. You come to mine and I come to yours. We find a time that you can come to mine and I can go to yours. And those kind of exchanges do exist. But we thought if we set up a club format, it enabled all of the available properties to be an opportunity for our members to use. So I would love to come and stay in your place in Utah. You might not have any interest in coming to my place in the UK, but you'd be able to go and stay in other members' places in the south of France or in South America, Sydney, or actually anywhere else in the 103 countries that we've got covered in the club.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to talk about something that so many founders or investors that are backing founders are concerned about, which is when you look at these really desirable clients, the kind of people who have homes in the millions or tens of millions, earning enough trust, building enough reputation to get positive word of mouth. I mean, everybody can claim anything they want in their own marketing.
Correct.
When you think about the principles that have had you guys earn that kind of trust, what do you attribute some of that to?
Well, the fact that we've been around for 15 years and we've kind of grown year on year. Okay, like everybody else, there was a little bit of a check during COVID, but we've grown year on year and largely grown through word of mouth. It's interesting how we get new prospective members come to us and say, "Hi, Giles, I was just on holiday with Scott and Adele, and they managed to get this incredible property through you guys. We've got this super home here in Australia. Could we become members as well?" So it's actually become organic and self-fulfilling. Yes, we do some conventional marketing, but not a huge amount of it. But we like the fact that we're getting members from existing members because it's an organic growth and it's a sticky growth. And our members are like-minded. They're all very successful in what they do. They clearly have to be in order to have properties like this. And because they are like-minded, they're kind of birds of a feather and move in similar circles. So for us to be able to grow organically through our members really helps with that kind of trust and peace of mind. And the other key part of the club is that when you're renting a property, the relationship is owner and renter. It's kind of quite hands-off, and some people might say it's kind of sterile. But within the club, like us, all of our members at some point are both hosts and guests. So at some point you are welcoming other people into your home, and at other points you're being welcomed into another home. And there's so many wonderful, rich and varied elements that make that experience so much better for both parties. We've heard of wonderful stories of members inviting other members into their own private clubs that you can't get into at all, over New Year in Aspen a few years ago. And it's stories like that that really make us feel, yes, we have set up a club. There is this ethos of, as you do unto my property, as you'd have me do unto yours. And that runs through the kind of the tenor of everything we do.
Yeah. On the other end of the spectrum, when you think about like maximum exposure and positioning, can you talk about this Paramount show?
Yes. Well, this was a really interesting project that I got to work on a couple of years ago. We were approached by a production company in the US in the UK, in London, who wanted to kind of put together a kind of a cool show about us and our members and our properties. And there were a couple of channels that were looking at doing it. And for whatever reason, it didn't kind of come off. And then I got a call, and it was very early in 2023, saying it's been commissioned. It's been commissioned by Paramount Plus. So my initial thought was, okay, I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is here, because I said, no problem. We will get the properties and we will get the members and we will get some great content to put this show together. So they told me, well, that's great, Giles, but we need 6 episodes and 6 hour-long episodes. Which properties and which members do you think would like to be a part of this? So given that it was the very first time that we had done this, it took a lot of calling of our members, because we wanted to identify the properties that we wanted to show that put us in the best possible light, but also wanted some of our fabulous members to kind of come across on screen as well. And I think we managed to get a lovely mix of super homes and super properties. And yes, it was commissioned by Paramount. It was on here. It's been picked up, I think, by 15 other channels all over the world. And most interestingly, it has just been picked up by Netflix as well. And it's going to be on Netflix in the UK and Europe, or those of you that are very adept with a VPN might be able to access it as well. But yeah, it's Millionaire Holiday Home Swap. And it's a 6-part episode or 6-part series on us and our members and our properties. And it's been fantastic for us. In fact, it went so well down in Australia on Foxtel and Channel 10 that we had to open an office down there because we had so much interest in membership. And now we've got a team that works with us down at the Gold Coast. I think there's 6 or 7 of them looking after that market for us. So yeah, it's been really good. And we're interested to see where it goes now with the Netflix showing coming up.
Yeah. It's interesting, these changes in Hollywood with the way funding has changed and the way the entertainment business has changed. YouTube is the most streamed things on televisions now over Netflix. And, it's things that haven't been seen in the previous decades. And so many of the traditional funding sources aren't working the same. And you're seeing brands getting involved, and you're seeing much more business content where it's like, instead of the business buying ads against the show, the business is the show. And how great for you guys that you guys make a great show, like that people want to watch what you do. Can you talk about this philosophy, though, of like not just interrupting people, but actually being the entertainment?
Well, it's interesting you say that the model has changed. And I think it's all down to kind of access and content. And when it comes down to a show like ours, I think it's a win-win for for both parties. Paramount gets to put on a show that gives them access to these properties, which might not be easy for them to get, or to be able to set up this premise without a partner like us being able to open up the door to enable people to look behind the curtain, as it were. Because everybody likes looking at beautiful properties. You just have to see the success of Selling Sunset, and I can't remember the name of the other one in Paris that's doing so well. There are a lot of these types of shows that are positioning high-end properties in a slightly different way. So for us to be able to put a much more kind of personal story behind it, I think was what really kind of made Paramount jump at this opportunity. In fact, I'm sorry, does that answer your question or not?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot more about it because at Connection Homes, we're doing, the kind of properties that would be in the reserve for a third home. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had Ryan Serhant on the podcast, and he talked about his Netflix show, Owning Manhattan, and the other things he's done, and thinking about this. And, you look at like startups today, and it's something like 30 or 40% of the money raised goes to the big four, what is it? Fang, Facebook, Amazon, who's the N, and then Google. Anyways, it goes for distribution.
Yep.
Like all these startups, like you need a way to acquire customers, and something like 30 to 40% of all startup dollars these days end up going to those big guys to get the distribution, so someone can get customers. And then you look at the efficiency of, well, when you actually become the entertainment yourself, how does that change your budget? And it's obviously something that a lot more CEOs and founders and even investment funds who are investing in these companies are thinking about and talking about in boardrooms. When you think about mistakes or things to advice for, founders and CEOs listening today, what are a couple of things to avoid or watch out for, and what are a couple of things to make sure to do?
What, in terms of doing a show like this, or just overarching?
No, doing like a real television show that's going to be on mainstream streamers as a business.
I think the key thing that anybody looking to do this is to get a great relationship with the production company. I was very, very fortunate enough to get on really well with the guys at Plum Pictures, the people who owned it, the directors who oversaw the whole production, and the directors that were on the ground on the day-to-day basis. We got on very, very well. And as soon as you get mic'd up and the cameras are on you, my first thought is, don't say anything dickish. Don't say anything just because who knows how it can be cut or how you can be positioned. But the great thing about this company was that I don't mind how you kind of cut it, as long as our properties and our members all come off in the right way. We don't want anything to be kind of spun out of context or kind of cut in a way that creates an unnecessary jeopardy just to try and get eyeballs or create drama. We wanted it to be authentic. So anybody who's looking to do kind of something like this, you need to have A, the great relationship with the production company, and B, in the agreement. We didn't have any kind of final edit approval or anything like that. But we were able to have some form of kind of access to kind of look at what was going to go out on the screen and be able to kind of give our thoughts and input and influence, if you like, if we weren't able to kind of change it directly. So yes, have a great relationship with the production company, and have a good streamer that allows you to do what it is that you both have agreed to do.
I mean, it is interesting, in decades past, CEOs and investment fund managers didn't necessarily need media training. And, 10, 15 years ago, they weren't blogging. And yet you look at like the LinkedIns of the world, and it's like what you have to pay to get your brand in front of people versus having some training or having, ghostwriters and people helping a CEO put their content out on LinkedIn. I mean, it's just, it's night and day in the cost of the business, because humans want to relate to a human, right? Well, I mean, on the podcast, whatever, we're at 1,100 and something episodes. I look at like how many of them who are good at being the face of the company have written a book, have, considered a podcast, a Substack, a YouTube channel, or like going like the full bit and like making something that's good enough to be on Netflix, right? And it's I guess my inner investor who wants like the most profit for the least investment is just shocked at the leverage of just how much more cost effective it is for new client acquisition to be positioned right and to get that positioning out to huge numbers of people. But there's this problem of, for a story to be gripping, it needs to have stakes. It needs to have jeopardy. Like, good guy gets girl, good guy keeps girl, movie ends. Like, that's not a show. Nobody watches that. Like, good guy likes girl, good guy loses girl, good guy gets girl back. That's a show, right? And so you think about these producers, like, what's a great way to have jeopardy and an obstacle or conflict or something that has to be overcome is drama. I mean, like, I personally look at a bunch of the real estate shows, and I'm not a fan of how some of them are a big soap opera. And, there's some people making some poor moral decisions and things like that. I mean, it gets a lot of eyeballs. And so your point about like a really great relationship with a production company who they're willing to make the drama and the interest and the things that need to be overcome something that doesn't dissuade people from wanting to become your client, and putting you in a category with, I don't know, Jersey Shore or, some terrible soap opera. I mean, like, that's it. Like, not all exposure is great exposure. You know what I mean? Correct. And so I just want to echo what you're saying of this idea of like the production company who can get what they need to create the ups and downs of a story without sabotaging your brand to get it, because there are horror stories of they've got you to sign on the dotted line, they film all this stuff, and then they cut it for maximum clicks, not for maximum value to the business, right?
Well, exactly, because that's not their main objective here. They're not trying to kind of grow Third Home or give us kind of increased exposure. They want to create a decent TV show that people will watch. And so it is a fine balance. And obviously we want to look at, I think if you create too much drama in what we're doing, you move away from the authentic offering of who we are and what we do. So I think they did a very, very good job of just adding in little kind of accents of drama, because you are just watching real people having real situations in real homes, where there were just kind of slight but gentle laughs from time to time, but on the backdrop of these incredible homes. And you just sit down and you just let it all wash over you. And it's a great way to spend a few hours.
I think this is not a skill that most CEOs thought they were going to have to learn if they went to Harvard or some fancy business school, right? And yet, like, we've all been hammered to death. Story. I mean, how many times have you heard you need to have a great story? You need to be a great storyteller in the last 10 years as a president of a company. I mean, just endlessly, right? And yet, I don't think there's been the level of sophistication of what we're talking about of like, okay, but how can you tell the story that works for the entertainment company you're partnering with? How can how can you create the ups and downs and the emotional roller coaster and the interest? Because I think there's a lot of us that are like, we want to put our best foot forward and we want to keep our best foot forward. And, think of, we're in the luxury home business like you, just a different part of it. I mean, like, it could be very easy to be like, come up with something that's basically just a giant screensaver. Oh, look at this great home. Right. Oh, look at this great home. Oh, look at this great home. Mm-hmm. And that's not enough to keep people for an hour. Do you know what I mean? Like, something's got to happen.
Or keep people for an hour 6 times.
Right.
In 6 episodes. So there's got to be more. And I think what Plum Pictures did brilliantly was to weave in different stories for different sets of members and different properties at different times. There were family reunifications. There were couples who haven't been away together for a while that are looking to get some proper kind of them time. And they kept it fresh and they kept it interesting, all with the backdrop of our great homes. And they did a really good job also of kind of interspersing and weaving in some of the behind the scenes that goes on here at Third Home. So both with me in our office in London, and then also with our super team down in Spain as well. They did a great job of putting that kind of stuff. And so you can actually see what goes in to create these experiences and create these exchanges for our members, which again goes back to the earlier points of keeping it kind of real and authentic as opposed to a dramatic series. So yeah, I think they did a very good job in terms of the final output.
Yeah, the inner investor in me who wants like maximum efficiency, right?
Mm-hmm.
I look at a couple of my heroes for this. My friends at the renewable energy division at Bloomberg, they were clients for years, and I used to be a client of theirs 15 years ago. They became a client of ours at our production company, had them on the podcast, and or like my other friend who worked at Red Bull. I mean, they're so good at this. They get people to pay to advertise on their advertisements,
Right.
And I'm like, brilliant. A marketing department that makes you money instead of costs you money. I mean, that is an incredible advantage, but not a typical skill set that your average CEO has, or that your average fund manager is thinking about the people they're investing needing, yet, a great way to get ahead of the competition. I want to go back to talking about word of mouth though. So, when you think about the kind of things that your staff does that increases the likelihood that your members are willing to talk to their friends about you, what do you feel like are some of the levers that you guys have worked hard to maybe be better than just good, to be excellent at?
Well, we don't consider ourselves having a customer service department. We call it member experience.
Sure.
And we like to have our team build relationships with their group of members. And they will answer a call at 8, 9 o'clock at night, or answer an email over the weekend, and help our members find the properties they're looking for at the time they want to go. So it might be really difficult to get a week in the south of France in June for whatever reason, because there's an event going on. But our members, our team members, will go that extra mile to call all of the other members in the area just to see if there is that week available. And once it is, and once it gets booked, and those members then go on that trip, and then they take some friends with them, and they then kind of give the story of how they managed to get that property for that particular week, a lot of it stems back to our team and the incredible service that they provide, and the great rapport and relationships they build with our members. And if you can keep that as a foundation, then it's natural that members are going to want to talk about you with their friends. And then we get the kind of the word of mouth of more people wanting to join.
So I'm interested in, like, at a granular level, something tactical. Like, what's something that you and your partner at the leadership level are doing to help keep this fresh? Because after 15 years, people get into ruts. Things naturally degrade if they're not reinforced. Humans are like that, right?
Yeah.
What are tactical examples of things you guys are doing to help staff want to exceed expectations?
So we're expanding into different markets. So we've realized that Asia is a huge opportunity for us, and kind of one of the smallest percentage of our properties and members are in Southeast Asia. So I've been out to Bangkok in June, Singapore in July, and Wade and I are heading down there later on this month. But we were down at conferences. We brought a number of our team members up to up to Singapore to be a part of those kind of conferences and those events, to kind of see our members and to meet them kind of firsthand. We're trying to encourage our team members to get out and meet our members as much as possible. And if a member's in town and they're around for a coffee, great. Take them out for a coffee, take them out for a beer, take them out for a drink. And so you can actually kind of build that relationship personally. And the other thing that I think we do that keeps it fresh and keeps it interesting is that we actually allow our team members to stay in our properties as well. So it's a great perk of being a part of the team, is that you get to go and stay in these members' homes. And the main reason for doing that, not only do they get a super holiday at the time, but they can also relate much kind of closer to the members once they've had that experience. And a member would kind of call up and go, you know what, I've got this week available at the end of March. I'm not entirely sure what I should do. And they go, well, you know what? This time last year, I went down this place in Mexico, which was unbelievable. And they'll list out all of the reasons of why they should go. Oh, and as it happens, it looks like there's a week available at the time that you want to go. Why don't you look at this? And one of the coolest things about the club is that people, when they join, they generally have their set ideas of where they want to go and when. But it's ones that have become more adventurous and have got to the point where, you know what, Giles? I don't think I even need to choose where I want to go this year. I'm going to let you tell me, because you know what I've done in the past. You know what I've enjoyed. What am I going to enjoy this year? I'm going with my family. We're bringing my elderly parents as well. Here are the kind of the key permutations of this trip. What have you got for me? And that, I think, is a really, really rich thing for us to be able to offer, and for our team members to be able to offer our members. So to offer up the incredible inventory that we've got and tailor make it specifically to certain members.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm interested in, what are other things you didn't expect to learn over these 15 years?
What did I not expect to learn in 15 years?
Or just ways the business went that you didn't expect, or...
Yeah, well, that is interesting, actually. Just kind of off the show itself, I didn't expect us to have the kind of uptick in interest in Australia that we did. I kind of thought it would go on in a number of different countries. It's gone on. We've got a number of leads and a number of new members that joined, but it just, for some reason, just exploded down in Australia. And we couldn't deal with all of the demand with our offices in the US and Europe. So we had to be kind of relatively agile and think, okay, we're going to need to have boots on the ground in this market. So how do we go about doing this? And thankfully we had a lovely lady, Laura Jade, who did some work for us on a PR front a few years ago, who was excellent. And we thought, well, let's get in touch with LJ and see if we can build a team around LJ. And she has been fantastic, and that team down there has grown significantly. So yes, it's surprising how little things in certain markets can explode in a way that you don't expect, and then you really have to be able to kind of act on it in a way that benefits everyone.
Yeah, I would actually love to explore just your observations. When you think about homeowners in North America versus South America versus Europe versus Asia, can you tell us some of the nuances or things you notice more in certain regions versus other regions, how they differ?
So I suppose one of the really interesting things is that come the summertime, regardless of where you live, everybody wants to come to Europe. So North Americans want to come over to Europe. South Americans want to come to all of our new Australian members. They want to come up to Europe. And interestingly, all of our European members want to stay in Europe. They just want to go to a different country in Europe. So over those summer months, there is increased pressure on our inventory to be able to try and satisfy as many members as possible. Now, I thought I was quite lucky growing up. My father was a pilot for British Airways, so I got to travel all over the world quite a lot from quite a young age. And what I didn't appreciate back then was the seasonality of travel, and I didn't realize that it was so acute, or as acute as it is. So yes, the big focus on Europe for those months of June, July, and August is quite something.
What are some of the strategies that you've pursued to try to accommodate?
So we opened up an office in Europe. We had a European office in the UK pre-Brexit, but then we needed to move it down to Spain, which we did. So we've got a super team. As for those who tune into the show, you'll get to meet a number of them in various episodes. But yeah, we've got an office down in Estepona, just not far from Malaga. And I think the takeaway is you kind of have to have people on the ground. You can't just do it remotely. And there's a number of kind of cultural nuances. I think our team in Europe, between them, speak about 7 different languages, which is fantastic. If you're trying to get many more French and Spanish and Portuguese and Italian members into the club, you need to be able to at least initially, interact with them in their own language. They're obviously all very kind of competent in English, but they feel a level of comfort if somebody is kind of a French person's being approached by another French person just to kind of get them into the club to start with. So yeah, I don't think we fully realized just how local we needed to be in order to kind of grow in individual markets. And opening that office down in Spain has been a real boon for us. And we've got a fantastic team down there who run it.
Well, I think about how successful you guys have been, and so often folks are not able to, they just aren't able to translate country to country, culture to culture. And this is something you guys have mastered. So I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a master class here. So let's talk about some things. So what are some idiosyncrasies of American homeowners? Like having the American clients, what's something to emphasize or to, if you're trying to excel with them?
So the American clients, and the vast majority of our members are American, but interestingly with the American clients, as I mentioned previously, they didn't initially have their set stop places that they want to go. If they wanted to go winter sun, they would go to Mexico. If they want to go skiing, they would go to Colorado. And then, you know what, if we're going to break out, we're going to go to Europe this summer. But once they've done a couple of those trips and they start to feel more comfortable with going off the beaten path, that's where they get much more excited about their travel. And they will go, okay, yeah, let's try Portugal. You guys have been great. You got a super place in Spain last year, but let's try Portugal. And those are kind of conversations I would have had with members. And let's say I had a similar conversation 5 or 6 years previously. There would be no interest in trying to go to Portugal. They go, you know what? We'll go to Miami, or we're going to go up to Maine this summer. So it's been really interesting to see just how our American members have broadened their reach and broadened their horizons and have really benefited from the rich experiences that they've got through home exchange. And I think the reason why, one of the reasons why they've been kind of open to it is because there's so little to lose, in that you're using the downtime of your own home. You're paying a nominal exchange fee that's costing you between 10 to 15% of what it would cost you to rent the property. So just get some airfare, get your friends together, get your family together, pick a place, go. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, well, yeah, you're not really out a huge amount, just a bit of airfare and some time.
And what's their average stay? How long do they typically go for?
The majority of stays within the club are 7 nights. But we'll tend to see members, as I say, all of our members who want to kind of come to Europe in the summer, they'll be here for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Not so much the American market, because you guys don't get as much holiday or vacation time as most of us in the rest of the world. But we'll see our members, especially from Australia, because it's cold and wet, especially down in Melbourne in June, July, August time. They will spend 2 months up here in Europe. So they'll combine a couple of rentals, a few hotel stays, staying with some friends, and then just slot in third home stays as part of their itinerary. So we love it when they get in touch and say, look, we're coming up for the whole of the summer. These are our dates. These are the ones that we've already got filled up. But these are the gaps. Fill them in for us and let us know what you can find.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I grew up in Canada, and I know Canadians are pretty similar and then have some differences. And any nuances you notice with Canadian clients?
So Canadian clients, I'd probably have to ask Zach and my team in the US, because they get to deal with our Canadian members and our American members more than I do.
I'll tell you one. So one of our new homes for Connection Estates is we finished our Hawaii one, so we're going to do another. And our next one is on the beach in Cayman Islands at this insane 7-star resort, like the nicest beach in the entire country, right? And I will say the Canadians, like the bitter cold really does get to us. And we're like, there's so many direct flights from Canada to the Caribbean or to Arizona or somewhere that's just like hot, Cancun. That is one thing I think about for the Canadians. Do you know 70% of the places in the Cayman Islands are being bought by Canadians right now?
I'm not surprised. I'm absolutely not surprised at all. Well, you guys are the snowbirds.
Yeah.
You have long, long winters. So yeah, you need to kind of break it up somehow.
Well, and the big thing for Canadians, Aussies, and Brits is because they don't tax on residency, they can leave. And like if you leave during the first half of the year and, if you can get residency, like in our case, if they buy an eighth of a place in Caymans, for instance, it's 2.4 million, you can get citizenship, right? Either an investment or real estate purchase. So they can drop their property tax, capital gains tax, and income tax to zero just by moving. And and so, but they don't have to spend all the time in Cayman Islands. They have to spend one night a year in the Cayman, and they can travel the rest of the time other places. Hence the reason Third Home could be really interesting. Is that like, well, we'll spend a little time in the Cayman. We just need to spend time somewhere else more than Canada, and let's go to Europe, let's go to Australia, and go on tour, right?
Exactly right. Do on 90 days in the Schengen region. So brilliant. We can do plenty of nights in Spain, Italy, and France. Then, hey, let's go down to South Africa and go and stay in some of the lodges that you've got down there. Then we'll head down to Australia because there's so many great places there. So, yeah, we're starting to see a lot more of our. I mean, when we first started, our demographic skewed quite. Well, I wouldn't say kind of mid 60s to kind of early 70s. The empty nesters, and they had all of the money and the assets. But I think as we've grown over the years, that demographic of member has actually skewed younger, and they have become much more mobile. And ever since kind of COVID happened, where people realize you don't have to spend 5 days a week in the office. Yeah, okay, all right, I can go and do part of my job elsewhere. I don't necessarily need to do it in my own home. So great, let's join Third Home and mix it up a little bit.
Especially for founders or fund managers, right? If it's your fund, like you're not the employee, it's your fund, right? I noticed that. Oh, we're actually Portugal, for instance. We're going to go do 2 months in Portugal, and I'm just going to, as long as I've got great internet, I'm fine.
Right.
Okay, I want to talk about Brits next. When you think about folks from the UK as homeowners, like right now, we've got some families who, they've got an insane estate that's been in the family for generations, and they wouldn't mind pulling half the equity out and not taking on any debt. So we're talking to them. Advice for me as we're looking at homeowners over in the UK.
So, especially in the homes that you're looking in, you're absolutely right. These are asset-rich families, but probably kind of cash is a little bit tighter because a lot of it goes into maintaining these incredible stately homes and castles. And they don't want to give these properties up. They don't want to be the generation that actually had to give up the castle or had to go up the home. It's been in the home for multiple generations. So how do they get to go and expand their lifestyle and enjoy it a little bit more without actually having to sell? But they realize that they've got a roof that's going to cost a fortune to get fixed. They've got heating systems that are completely out of date and have been for decades. How do they raise the money in order to kind of keep their asset up? So that's what I think what you guys are doing is super, super smart.
Well, this is where we need to work together.
They get to keep it. Yeah.
This is where we need to work together. I'll buy half the castle for my members, and then they'll have the cash to afford their third home exchanges and spend half the year going to all these other places.
And the good thing is they wouldn't need to spend too much of their cash that they would spend because they could just be using the downtime from their half.
They can be having a great time while they're there.
Exactly.
Okay, what about, I keep getting asked to go to Dubai and Saudi and UAE. What are some of the cultural differences for the homeowners over there in the Middle East?
So that's interesting too. And that, again, this is a market we haven't got a huge number of properties in yet, but it's a big focus for us in 2026. I suppose the general feeling previously is that the wealthy Emiratis, if they do own within those regions, yes, they'll rent out or they'll keep it for themselves. They haven't really got their head around home exchange and the benefits of home exchange. But the great thing for us, for Third Home, is that within that market, kind of like Singapore and Hong Kong and a number of the key cities in Southeast Asia, there's a strong expat community. So there's a lot of people, a lot of Brits living in Dubai, a lot of French, a lot of Spanish, a lot of
Aussies.
Americans as well, Aussies too. But they're living in Dubai and have obviously all of the tax benefits of doing so. But then they buy assets there, but they then buy assets back home. So for us is how do we build a good rapport and good relationships with the expat market within Dubai and Abu Dhabi and increasingly Saudi as well, so that we can get more of the properties in the club that are outside of the region as well as ones that are there as well. So that's quite a nuanced market on that front.
You know, that ultra high net worth peer-to-peer group R360, where I run the Western US chapter, the Pacific West chapter. So
yeah, of course.
I went over with our national group and we biked across Tuscany last month, and I'd only been to Rome, and it was just like, I thought Tuscany was amazing, right? So talk about Italian homeowners. What's different?
So very, very family orientated. I know it sounds quite stereotypical, but they do travel together as a family. And we'll see on the Italian members, they'll need properties with more bedrooms than potentially some American members coming over. So American members, they'll travel with their immediate family, or they might have some parents in tow, but generally the groups are a little bit smaller. But the Italian members, they travel in slightly kind of larger groups, and that's possibly because they don't get a huge amount of time to spend together abroad, and they want to maximize it. So,
and so your Italian members, what are some of the destinations they like to go to? Like where might Italians favor?
Vietnam.
When they're leaving.
In fact, we've got
Really?
we've got some great members at the moment who own possibly one of the finest houses on the beach or on its own private beach in Sardinia. And they're down in Vietnam at the moment. And they're just looking for something that's very different from the European lifestyle that's the lovely European lifestyle that they have, but they're looking for something a bit different. And as long as the level of luxury, if you like, is at the right level, then they're open-minded. But yes, we're getting much more requests from our Europeans and Italian members for Southeast Asia. Hence one of the reasons why Wade and I are heading down there later this month.
So Vietnam, Singapore, where else?
Yep. Vietnam,
Thailand,
Singapore,
Bali?
yeah. Thailand, Bali, very much so. And we haven't really got too much in Cambodia and Laos at the moment, but I'm sure that those will definitely come online.
What
What
about
we're
Japan?
trying to,
Sorry.
Japan is seriously popular, especially with the ski fields there.
Hokkaido and
again,
Alps.
Exactly. Hokkaido, Niseko, Kamikochi, the Japanese Alps there. Some beautiful, beautiful places. But actually we're seeing a lot of Australian members wanting to go to Japan, and the expat market that I mentioned briefly in Southeast Asia wanting to go to Japan. And we've got this situation at the moment where everybody wants to go to Japan in end of January, February, beginning of March, when the snow is at its best. So the limited number of properties that we've got there at the moment are starting to feel some pressure. But Wade's headed over to Japan early next year as well, and as a way for us to try and grow that.
One of my friends just got 2 places at Niseko, and they've got a number of homes around the world. So I know they're not there all the time, especially if they have 2. It's because they just offered them for my family to go over, and that's like a bucket list. My 2 bucket list items in life are actually both snowboarding, hell skiing Alaska, and then riding Hokkaido. And so they made the offer last month, so we're excited about that. But I know they're not there all the time. I got to introduce you.
Oh, well, we would be delighted to talk. Where do they live normally?
Taiwan.
Great. So I'm guessing that they enjoy dipping into other countries in Southeast Asia, which means that they wouldn't necessarily have to go to their place in Niseko.
Yeah, they've got a number of homes around the world.
Okay.
But
sounds like they'd be fantastic members.
So we keep getting requests, because a lot of our clients, they may have 5, maybe 10 homes already. And it's like, they see another one and they're like, oh, that's amazing, but I'm already not using the homes I've got enough. Right. And then it's like, what, maybe I'd buy just a quarter of it or an eighth of it. Cause these people who some people collect art, some people collect watches, some people collect cars. Like our people are like home people, They love homes, but then they feel a little guilty. They're not using them enough, right? And so that's kind of a little. So we've got requests for Paris a bit, but more so south of France. Thinking about homeowners in both those places. What advice do you have for us as we're trying to expand into France?
So for you looking to get villas down in the south of France to add to your collection?
Yeah. We some ultra high net worth family who has a few homes, and they realizing they don't need all of their place in Nice or Grasse or something like that, but we want to be. We want to approach them in the way they want to be approached. We want to work with them in the way they want to be worked, and make them feel comfortable that if they, pull out half or 75% of their equity, that we're the kind of people they want to work with.
I think it's kind of similar to the UK in the fact that you have these wealthy French families, a lot of them based in and around Paris, but they have their summer houses down in the south of France. And these summer houses, a lot of them have been in the family for generations. And it gets to the point where they're never going to sell the property. But as we found with a lot of our members, that resentment's probably the wrong word, and so is probably burden. But they know they've got a beautiful house, but going back to it year after year, time after time, it sometimes gets a little bit trying, especially if the kids are going, you know what, do we have to go to the beach house this summer? Can we not go to Disneyland? Or can we not go skiing in Japan this year? Or can we get out to Argentina? And yeah, that would be great. But that's going to cost a fortune to be able to do that.
And we have to replace the roof.
Exactly right. So that's the great thing. That's why we've got a number of members in this kind of position. It means that they don't have to pay for those holidays. Well, the only thing they are paying is just a nominal exchange fee, and they're paying for it with the downtime of their property. So they don't feel as though it's a huge investment to take the trip. So for those French families, I think the approach is very similar to the English ones and the Scottish ones that own the castle, and that nothing changes for you. You get to keep your asset, your family legacy remains intact, but for you get to expand the benefit of owning this incredible home down in the south of France by owning it with a couple of others.
You're actually making me think. We've recently been offered some pretty fantastic ranches out west, like very large ranches. And I think it's actually a little bit of a similar, like as you're describing that, I think that is a little bit of why on these stunning ranches as well. Okay. I know we had this like great call. I think we have to give a shout out to Alex Volkner at Falcon Club for getting us introduced. Love Alex.
Top fella.
But as we're sitting here on this podcast, I'm realizing, we need to work closer together on is people who want to do Third Home. They need to come get their reserve level home through me so they can put it on Third Home and like take some of the trips to the place and then take the other ones with you by getting to reserve level properties with you.
But the great thing about them coming to buy a fraction of a reserve level property with you means that they then get access to, we've got almost 400 reserve level properties. So they obviously, if they're buying a fraction of one of your homes, they obviously like homes at that particular level. And if they then went onto our reserve website, they'll be able to see your property there and then a whole host of others that are in completely different locations, but of a similar ilk.
Well, and I think we need to tell people this, that Third Home is only eligible for second homes. You can't put your primary home on it, right?
Correct. Absolutely right. Yes.
They need to get the secondary home with me so they can qualify for Third Home.
And if they want to qualify for the reserve, if they want to get access to the reserve properties, then they do need to take a fraction of yours. Because otherwise they're not going to get access to a number of these reserve properties, because you can only get into them if you own a reserve home of your own.
Yeah. I want to switch gears. There are so many stats out there about how few businesses make it to 5 years. And if you make it to 5 years, you're probably not going to make it to 10 years. And here you guys are passing 15. What do you think you've done different? What do you think has been approaches that have paid off for you guys to have this kind of longevity and obviously continuing to grow?
That's a super question. And that, when well, Wade obviously started the company himself, and then I joined forces with him back. I had my own little exchange club called Utopia Exchange that we launched after Lehman's collapse back in 2009. And initially, it was just Wade and I, and the team. We had a very simple relationship. Wade is an incredible sales guy. He's very, very personable, and we got to a point where Wade said, "Okay, I'll bring the members in. You look after them." That was it. That was exactly how we kind of started the growth of Third Home. And then it's all kind of morphed from there. And so we've got these teams all over the world now. But he's got a beautiful horse farm down in Tennessee. And I remember quite clearly, probably about 10 years ago, or even a little bit longer. And we were growing quite significantly at that point. And we looked at each other, well, what are we going to do when we get to 10,000 members? Geez, I don't know. We probably had about 1,800 or 2,000 at that point. And 10,000 members just seemed so far away in the future. And when it seems so far away, you kind of park it. Yeah, we'll deal with that when you get to it. And then when you get to 10,000 members, it's a case of, okay, well, we've got to this and we've blown through 10,000 and we've kind of carried on. What are we going to do now? And I think what's kind of helped us with our longevity is the partnerships that we've got and the new partnerships that keep joining, but also trying our best to keep the inventory fresh in terms of new properties, new members, new opportunities, new locations, new regions. And if we can keep showing our members that we've got these new homes in the program, they're going to keep coming back to the site. And they're going to keep coming back to their membership going, okay, I want to do as much of my leisure travel, not just leisure travel. We've got people taking kind of company retreats within Third Home now. So the usage of Third Home properties has kind of morphed a little bit. But if we can keep our members coming back because we've got these really interesting homes and really interesting locations, then they will do. We've got some members. I don't know how they do it, but they've only been with us for a couple of years, yet they've taken 50 trips with us. 50. How have you been able to do that? I think they've obviously got a job that enables them to do it. But yeah, they just want to, part of it, they like to be kind of challenged as well, going, oh, Ecuador, where's that? Galapagos Islands. You know what? Why not? Everything else I've been on Third Home has been fantastic. Let's just do it. Let's get a group of us together.
But there's also something magic. I've heard you talk about promoting connection instead of promoting consumption. Mm-hmm. And I really love that. Obviously, we named our company Connection Estates. Yeah. But I think about this like, my teenager was doing the typical teenager thing and like relating more to her friends than her parents. And, there was that, don't need to explain, right? And we took all of our kids over to Hawaii for 10 days. And, we had just enough of a time change that, all the texting with the friends wasn't as prevalent and we were doing enough fun things together. And she was basically bored enough. She had to talk to us, and her younger siblings. And it was it basically dissolved 2 years of friction that had led up to that point. And so we took our kids back, and that's like, it's basically the best place we've ever been to our family. We keep going back. This summer we went to Costa Rica and surfed instead, but Hawaii has this like special place in our family for this idea. And I think about growing up, my family wasn't wealthy. We were, my mom's a nurse, my dad worked for the government, right? But my mom's cousin was a very successful entrepreneur from San Diego and had this great cabin in Canada where Glacier National Park from Montana meets the border. On the Canadian side, it's called Waterton. Okay. And it's kind of like Banff, except the landmass is so small that you can't put thousands of tourists in. So you kind of feel like you have it to yourself a lot, right? It's just huge lake and there's almost immediately mountains. So it's always stayed small for all these decades. And we took care of the cabin and could use it as much as we want. So we felt like it was our cabin, right? And every one of my cousins have been there so many times. All of my friends have been there with me. And we have so many memories. And like, I heard somebody talking about how like you almost get to be like the the best version of yourself as a parent, or the best version of yourself of a spouse, when you're getting out of this routine and you're together. And because of those Hawaii trips, our Costa Rica trip was just so good, and this idea of like, I don't know, we talk about what really matters in life to us the most. And you look at our schedules and we're often not spending time with the people that we say we love the most. Like those trips and getting away and having shared experience and shared new experience. I mean, I can't say enough about it for family connection. And then businesses, when this Cayman property, our chief acquisitions officer is this great woman named Holly Parker from New York. She sold like $13 billion worth of homes herself over her career. Okay.
Wow.
But she's in a new relationship and we're excited to have her on the team. Well, her and her husband and her kids came down to the Caymans with us and stayed at the property. And we had multiple days together, 3 meals a day and all these things. And like staying up late at night and talking and maybe sharing some more heartfelt moments. And it was cementing in a way that I don't think enough business lunches ever could have done,
Right. And you're creating just incredible memories as well that you can really dine out on in all those kind of tough times and the tough kind of work days that you have. You just have to hark back that afternoon on the beach with your family in Hawaii, and you go, okay, well, let's see where we can recreate this again in Costa Rica or somewhere else. But it's so powerful. But yet connection is so important to us at Third Home. Wade is constantly going on trips with our members. We've got this adventures program that started. I think it was one trip where we got a boat that took a whole load of our members down the Amazon. And then now Wade has been hosting these trips in South Africa, in Cuba, and these members that didn't know each other from Adam join these trips, and then all of a sudden they're all in the same WhatsApp groups and they're staying in each other's homes, and then they're organizing trips together where they're all meeting up again and going. It's fantastic. In fact, we've got a couple of great members that we go on. I've only met through Third Home, and I went over to California a couple of years ago. We took a place up at Big Bass Lake, and we had some other Third Home members come and join us, and I actually consider them to be great friends as opposed to members. And I think a lot of member interactions and members will say the same thing.
I have programmed my TikTok algorithm to mostly feed me like business content and motivational or like stoic content with some like snowboarding and dirt biking mixed in. Okay. And this great video I watched yesterday was a business leader I really look up to saying, when you think about being great at business, it sure helps to fall in love with your clients. So when you think about what you want to do, maybe think a little more about which clients can you really love. Yes. And that's not a word that we use all the time in business environments. It's a little gushy, and we don't often use love like a deeper love of like truly caring about people. We sometimes say love at like a surface level, like I love ice cream,
Right.
But like, I mean, I'm not surprised about your trips that this Tuscany trip I keep talking about with R360. We had people from Canada, France, Asia, Central America, the US, South America, all on this trip. And again, you're seeing like you're in this gorgeous place, staying at these stunning buildings, having great meals. But again, it's this like 3 meals a day, all day together. Yeah. And it's kind of like the surface level only lasts so long. And then you get to know like a real person. And I just had a call this morning. Anyways, these people have become like my texting buddies that I didn't even know before the trip. Right. Anyways, I just completely agree with everything you said.
I see emails regularly that come through from other members of our team in various teams across the world asking, so-and-so member is looking for this. It'd be great if these are some of my favorite members. Can you see if you can kind of find it for them? And they'll go into reasons of why they are the favorite members. And there's a whole host of different reasons why. In fact, our chief marketing officer has just been on a boat in Turkey with some of our Californian members that they've just met over the years at some of our events, and they've built up a rapport, and all of a sudden there they are off And that is close quarters. You've got a whole week on a boat with other people that they're not necessarily your family. So it's all about these really kind of rich relationships. And the more that we can kind of foster this, it just makes the club, and we are a club first and foremost. We're not a platform. We're not a network. We're a club. And if we can foster the ethos of these connections between our members, it's going to make it much, much richer for everybody involved.
Yeah. Well, when you think about yourself and your career and your business success, you have accomplished something that is statistically uncommon amongst entrepreneurs. What do you think is different about you? Why have you been so successful?
That's a very good question as well. I guess, and I can't remember someone who said this to me relatively recently, I have a relatively high tolerance for risk. And I think I'm potentially a little bit more resilient than some. So there's a lot of knockbacks and problems and things that kind of get thrown up at you along the way. But if you roll them too much, or if you let them affect you too much, then it can really get you down, and you can start going into rabbit holes it's very difficult to kind of come out of. So I think, a little extra resilience perhaps. And my appetite for risk taking. I'm certainly not kind of jumping off high buildings in wingsuits or anything like that, but in a business context, why? Let's do it. Let's try it. Let's give it a go. Let's make some phone calls, can contact some people. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't, then we'll move on to kind of something else. And it's, I think, an excitement of being able to pick up the phone and just call anybody. And I will absolutely speak to absolutely anybody. You give me the number and I will speak to them, and I'll be delighted to do so. And I just like being able to kind of connect with people on that level. I will not hide behind emails or text messages or WhatsApp messages. I'd love to be able to talk face to face. In fact, like this, Jess, if I could have these kind of conversations with our members all the time, then it'd be fantastic for me. So long as I don't have to kind of write emails and things like that. But yeah, I'd say it's potentially a little bit of risk appetite and resilience. Potentially.
You know, it is shocking what is possible in the long term for somebody like you who is willing to have the courage to do something where the result isn't guaranteed, and who's willing to reliably and persistently get back up over and over. You know, I think about skateboarding, right? Skateboarding is mostly not landing tricks. That's what skateboarding is. And then you occasionally get this new thing you've been trying for a long time, and it's just a thrill, you know?
Yeah.
But most kids get a skateboard as a kid, and then they never learn how to ollie, they never learn how to jump up things, and then they quit because they're not willing to take that many setbacks. And then the ones who do, there's such a thrill of accomplishment and excitement that it's kind of addictive. It's like surfing. Surfing is the hardest sport I've ever learned.
Yes.
To be in the right place at the right time. I mean, I was to the point where I was like, by the time I started surfing, I had already temporarily dropped out of college to become a pro snowboarder. I'm a board sports guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a little bit of anxiety. Like, I was good enough where I was willing to try for that. Okay. And I got a wakeboarding on my first pull, blah, blah, blah. I go into this so cocky, like, oh, how hard could this be? Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Right. And you go over the falls and get put through the washing machine time after time after time. But then when you get it, it's such a thrill. It's such an addictive feeling that you're like, okay, let's go do that again. And so anyways, I love your answer, because that persistence and that willingness to take a little bit of a beating is,
because you're going to get
such an advantage.
And I think being a cup half full or cup half empty, like even if there's a couple of sips left in a glass, to me that's almost brimming. And in terms of, I see probably, and possibly a little bit of a downfall. I see try and see the positives in almost everything. And I think that has definitely helped. In fact, I'm learning to surf at the moment. I've done a lot of snowboarding, probably definitely not remotely at the level that you have. But I did a lot of snowboarding growing up, and again, wakeboarding, something no real problem. But I'm learning to surf with my daughter at the moment, my 14-year-old daughter, and we're getting private lessons. And she has now got to the point where she's getting up every time and taking the waves straight to the beach, turns around and sees daddy floundering around in the wash, having nosedived yet again. But A, I'm loving the fact that she's really getting a huge amount out of it and she's doing really well. But B, it's the kind of the connection. It's just something that we're doing together. And if I can ultimately kind of get up and get a little bit better, then great. But that's not really the main reason I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, here's my trick for surfing for everyone. Get a longer board and a lesson. Get a lot. Right. The longer the board, get up and then go shorter and shorter over time. That's a frustration reducer. Listen, this has been so fun. Thank you for making the time. I'm excited about it as our offline conversations as soon as we hang out. As this was super fun. Congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
Besides social media, do you want to give everyone the website?
Yeah, www.thirdhome.com. It's no more complicated than that, and all the information about membership can be found there. We can walk you through who we are, what we do, and how we do it. But yeah, we would love to have all of your listeners with super second homes all over the world to become members of the club. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. Thanks for listening.